Obviously, you played well Saturday, but when you hear outside people say, "Man, the offensive line is very good. They're not playing well," how do you take that, and then how do you, kind of keep your group's confidence up?
Honestly, I appreciate that you said that, but about me personally. But I still feel like there's things out there that I need to do better to help the team. There's always things to clean up, and kind of to answer your question in totality for the O-line, I'd say it's the same thing. Win or loss is address the things that we didn't do well at and the things that we need to improve at, and then continue to polish the things that we did do well at. Because every game there's going to be good and bad. It's just sometimes there's more good, sometimes there's more bad. So I think just having I think we do have a constant process of addressing areas that we need to improve, and then also too looking at areas we did well on and continuing to excel in those.
What are the areas that you guys look back on, I guess, and say you have to do better?
I'd say, as a unit, just kind of executing better, especially in the run game, to be able to get that going. I think that, guys just being able to sustain blocks, myself included, and really hammer on those double teams when we get a chance. I think that, that lends itself well to being able to run the ball effectively and, ultimately impacting the game in a big way.
What's the key to some of those short yardage situations specifically? Because Dabo kind of highlighted that as a frustration that y'all couldn't get those.
Yeah, obviously, it's frustrating because they kind of put it on us, and we try and take pride in that and being able to be the ones that the team puts it on our back and we can go out there and get it. So that's frustrating to us. But I think that just kind of understanding that short yardage is a little different than open field, like in how defenses are going to behave, and making sure that. We know that because it's very easy to short yardage, you're amped up, you want to go out there and you want to hit the guy as hard as you can and get movement. Sometimes, teams are going to play straight, but sometimes guys are going to move around. Sometimes, if you're just running off the ball as hard as you can and guys move around, like you're not going to go and hit anyone, you're going to throw a no-hitter and you're not going to help the team. So I think that just, being a little more dialed into kind of understanding how they're going to play it and really just kind of refocusing your mind in those big moments to, not let the moment speed you up, but just play your game.
Like, how would you assess Braden so far? Just gets kind of burned flyer of BC, gets another start back home. Just how have you seen him kind of grow?
Yeah, I'm really happy for Braden. I think he's done really well for us. I really appreciate, too, that he's always open to feedback, from whoever, whether it's me, Tristan, Walker, Colin, anyone. He's always open to feedback, and he's always asking us questions, and I think that, is going to lend itself well for him and, him having a very, very good career here. So I'm excited for him.
What kind of feedback or things what kind of questions is he asking?
I mean, he's really not afraid to ask any question, whether it's, how his set should look, how, if his first set is where it needs to be, if he should be flatter on his set, more on an angle. I guess, like, asking us how we approach certain blocks in the run, asking us about schematic stuff, and, what greater things about the defense are going to tell you about what the D-line's going to do. He's really he's not afraid to ask questions, and the questions he asks are good ones.
It's just as a senior, obviously, had high hopes for this season. I guess with some of those kind of out of the picture at this point, kind of what are you planning for? What's the motivation?
Honestly, I'm playing for the same stuff I did at the beginning of the year. The accolades may not be there, but I think that, being able to go out there and enjoy being out there with your teammates and go out there and be able to, just win games. I think that this year more than anything has taught us, that winning comes at a premium, and, it really kind of refocuses your mind in terms of, those wins are big, big, big things. And, it's easy in times where, you're winning a lot to almost take that for granted a little bit. So I think this year's kind of refocused that a little bit and given us a new appreciation for that. And hopefully that lends itself well for, like he was talking about, Braden, like younger guys really appreciating and, cherishing wins. And I guess, for me too, just like I said, being able to be around the guys and just enjoy the little things. Like, I love going out to practice and just seeing everyone out there. And, when a guy who's hurt comes back in, like, I love seeing that. Just being out there with, friends and going out there and executing and just enjoying the moment.
Did the team lose with a guy like Sadler going down? I mean, I feel like we saw that physical but also emotional impact when he got carted off the field last weekend.
Yeah, I think that, obviously as an O-line, like we're a unique unit in that, we kind of need to play as one. So with that said, I feel like we're a very, very close-knit unit, and seeing any guy, on the team go down like that is, a really scary thing. When you see that, flatbed or whatever it is come out and you see them like have to drive anyone off the field, that's a really scary sight. But especially with him being a fellow O-lineman, he's my roommate, so, even more so. That's definitely tough, but, he got some good news, I'm pretty sure, and, I'm excited for him, and he's got the right mindset when it comes to, trying to attack rehab as best as he can. So, I'm excited for him, and I'm just trying to be there for him and, be a positive voice for him.
Anybody else for Blake?
How would you say Christopher Vizzina kind of led the offense? Like, what was your impression of him in the huddle?
I was incredibly proud of CV with, how he played, but also how he conducted himself. I think that the way that he just immediately stepped in, and he was very thankful to us for, just having so much belief in him, but also too, he exuded confidence, which is awesome. I feel like as a guy who hadn't played like a ton, stepping in there, it could be a little bit daunting, but I think he did a great job of immediately making his presence felt and, exuding that confidence, because it's contagious.
I guess how could you tell he was confident?
I think that just the way that he talked, like he had a very strong inflection in his voice, and then also too, there's just this weird kind of feeling you get. Like I said, it's contagious. You can tell when someone's nervous, and you can tell when someone's confident, even if it's unspoken. Like he just came in there and immediately, he just commanded the huddle, he commanded the line, and it was awesome.
The guy that we haven't really got to see play, but draws rave reviews is Gavin Blanchard. What do you see out of that kid?
I love Gavin. He's very intelligent. He's always asking. Same thing like I asked about Braden. He's very interested in the schematic part of it and really understanding it, and especially with him being a center guard type guy, understanding that scheme and greater defensive scheme and how to get us as the O-line in the best points IDs possible in order to be successful is very important at that position. So same thing with Braden, like asking all the right questions. Gavin's asking all the right questions.
What can having a guy like Walker Parks in the room do? He's obviously not able to be a full go, but having him dress out and be out there, be in the holes on the sideline, what does it mean to this group?
He's also my roommate, so I'm really close with Walker. I'd consider him probably my best friend here, and I think that just the way that he's able to, I guess, fit in his role, whatever it might be. So, whether he's playing and he's going out there, and I mean, you guys have seen him play, he gives it his all every play. I really admire that about him. But, if he's not able to play, he's banged up, like he still is in his role doing the best that he can to, whether it's encourage guys on the sidelines, give people pointers, or even sometimes you just need a guy to come over and kind of emotionally just bring you back down to stable, and, because it's an emotional game. So I think that he does a phenomenal job of whatever his role is week to week, like really trying to be the best at it.
How do you feel like Matt Luke
It's kind of handled and tackled. Obviously, this is a kind of different situation than last year, just as position coach. What have you liked about what he's done?
Honestly, I've liked that he stayed the same person. I think it's very easy to, in good times, kind of get an ego about you, and in bad times, kind of start pointing the finger or becoming a different person, and that's not been the case with him. He's been the same person day in and day out, and, practice week one looked nothing different than, this past practice, because he's always bringing the same intensity and same fight and tenacity, but also, too, just being that same genuine person with you. And that's one thing I really appreciate in, a coach, player, teammate is just someone who's genuine and honest with you. And I think that he's, just kept that.
Anyone else? All right, Blake. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
CV,